Bună ziua tuturor! Astăzi vorbim despre un subiect ceva mai special. Unul care practic continuă discuția de data trecută despre posesive. Și unul care ne duce mai adânc în genitiv, dar și în dativ. Acest subiect se numește articole hotărâte în genitiv și dativ. Definite articles in genitive and dative. And this is an introductory video for what is to come next. Când vorbim despre substantive și pronume. If you remember, guys, last time we have talked about băiatul lui. Link up here. Which means his boy, right? Well, today we talk about băiatului, which is slightly more tricky. This is an intermediate topic, around A2, B1 maybe, and it requires you to know a couple of topics we have already introduced on this channel. Linkurile aici sus. În primul rând, genurile substantivelor. În al doilea rând, numărul substantivelor și, în ultimul rând, al treilea, articolele hotărâte. So, noun genders, noun numbers, and definite articles. Check these videos if you are unfamiliar to these topics now or after watching this video. This trip through the genitive has just started, so make sure you stick with the Romanian Academy for more insights. So let's just jump in, shall we? Alright guys, so as you can see here on the screen, we have a few examples of nouns, right? You should all be familiar. Ceasurile, vremurile, copilul, muzeele, femeia, pisicile, everything you see on the screen is a noun. And everything you see on the screen is something that you should be already familiar with if you're watching this lesson. All these endings are obviously a definite article. The ones that have slightly different color at the end of the words, of the nouns, they are definite articles. So all of them go at the end. All the definite articles, L, A, I, or LE, depending on gender and number, go at the end. They mean the, and they are a nominative accusative. If you don't know what it means, that's fine. Don't worry about it. They are just the basic the in English. And they go at the end of the noun, right? We all know that already. What's very interesting though is that in genitive, last time we talked about this idea of the possession. The possession means that you have a possessor and a possession. The genitive means that you have a possessor and a possession. And the possessor owns the possession. Now in Romanian, if you remember the possession word, like for example, câinele meu, as we discussed last time, câinele goes in front, the possessor meu, I am the possessor goes after. Another example is to see, instead of meu, a noun. Câinele prietenului. Right? So, the friend's dog. This is what this translates to, is the friend's dog. Something you would not commonly say in English, but the friend's dog makes sense in Romanian, as it does in English as well. Now in dative, the other place we will use the definite articles that we talk about today, in dative the logic is a little bit different. You don't have a possession and a possessor, you have a verb, yeah, so an action that is directed to some people or some things. And those are called indirect objects, something that again you don't have to worry too much about today, but if you know, you know. And in this situation, an example would be dau colegilor, right? You see here, just above me, dau colegilor. That means I give to the colleagues. Again, you see this ending, lor. Here you see this ending, lui. And that's what we cover basically today. If you enjoy what we do here at the Romanian Academy, if you really enjoy it, and if you think it's worth your time, consider supporting us in one of the few ways you can. Thank you. If you would translate this right? If you would translate câinele prietenului and dau colegilor, this colegilor and prietenului, so the nouns, in English, for prietenului, this would be of the or apostrophe s, right? And for colegilor, it would be something like to the, or for the. I give to the colleagues. And that's exactly what this genitive dative article can mean with an English brain. Of the, to the, for the. So as you can see here, of the, to the, for the, they are like the normal definite article with the. They have the word the. But since we talk about different cases, genitive and dative, it will not be a simple the, it will be a little bit different. So either you think about the genitive as apostrophe s or of the, that's completely fine. It will just have switched the order in English, because you can say, for example, friend's dog, but also the dog of the friend. And with dative, you will say, I give to the colleagues, or I give for the colleagues. Sometimes it makes more sense to say for, but normally it's a to. That's the situation with the meaning of the genitive dative definite articles. So, something that will become extremely important is the gender and number of nouns. As you remember from the normal nominative accusative definite article, the gender of noun and number of nouns dictates whichever definite article we put at the end of the word. L, I, a, or le. So depending on the masculine, feminine, or neuter, if it's singular or plural, we have words like copil, copii, fată, fete, and ceas, ceasuri. Each of them with different endings and with different plurals and plural endings, which is crazy in Romanian, right? So what happens here is really this. We have different genders and numbers, and you should know already the plurals and the genders by now. If you don't, then you should go back, because you're not A2 or B1 already, which is extremely important to go further in this conversation. You should go and study the plurals and genders of nouns and do some practice with them, and then come back here and study this, the genitive, dative, definite articles. And if you do that, we will continue talking about the definite articles, because what happens in nominative accusative, as we've seen a second ago, with the lui, the I or e, and the lor will be the equivalent in genitive dative. Exactly what we've talked about earlier. Yeah, so we have only 3 this times, not 4. In nominative accusative there were 4, now it's 3. Good on you, you're lucky. And this is how they work. It's very easy, very straightforward, but you need to remember to add them. So as you can see here, this is very simple. You have just lui for masculine and neuter, you have lor for plural, for all 3 plurals, and then you have an I with an asterisk for feminine. That we're gonna talk in depth in the next video on nouns in genitive and dative, because now we just talk about articles, okay? So don't worry, hold your horses, it's all gonna happen. We're gonna discuss the feminine and the nouns in the next video. So let's see some examples of this happening in real life. For example, copilul lui, câine lui for singular, copiii lor, pantofii lor for plural, masculine. And then you have the you. The you is very interesting. Something that you need to know. Whether it's nominative accusative with ul, which is just l actually, because you don't say copilul and ul is the article, it's just the l. U is just a particle. No, I'm not talking about physics. It's just a particle in grammar. Particle means it's just added there, so you don't have a double consonant. That doesn't exist in Romanian. So that's why you have copilul and not copilul. Think about it. And this is exactly what happens for this specific article, because same could happen here. Get a double L. What the hell is that? So that's what happens in masculine or neuter quite frequently, and that's what happens in feminine as well when you think about cafeaua. Yeah, cafeaua, because you cannot get a double A at the end of the word. So feminine, fetei, which we're going to talk about properly next time. Femei, again, we're going to talk about this kind of exception next time. Vremurilor, pisicilor. So in the first part you have singular, of the girl to the girl, of the woman to the woman. And then to the times, or of the times, of the cats, or to the cats, of the tulips to the tulips. And then same goes with neuter. And here you get numelui, same as câine lui, because you don't need any particle if you have vowel already. And mărul lui, because you cannot add this lui to a consonant. As you see here, it's another particle. Muzeelor, of the museums to the museums, and ceasurilor, of the watches or clocks, or to the watches or clocks. Don't forget that everything we have talked today about you can find on Patreon in the learning and exercises materials and class. You will find from now on under the A2 and probably B1 tiers as well. This is something that I'm going to talk about in a different video, but don't forget, check out Patreon. And let's continue with some examples. Copilul lui is something we discussed today. It means the kids something, or to the kid. And then that's different because copilul lui is something we have talked about last time. It's his kid, right? Copilul lui, that's, for example, clasa copilului, or prietenul copilului meu, yeah? The kid's friend, the class of the kid. And then copilul lui are 3 ani, his kid is 3 years old. Same applies for all of them. Careful with this. So fetei, which is in plural, we'll talk about it in a second and in the next video, and fata ei. Yeah, make the distinction between these two. And then mărul lui and mărul lui. Yeah. So on the left you have the conversation is around the possession or the direction. The indirect object is this word. Yeah, copilul lui, fetei, mărul lui. This is the noun in genitive dative, which we're going to talk about next class. And then this is what we've talked about in the previous class. Yeah, when we talked about the adjective, the possessive adjectives added at the end. They mean very different things. But one thing is very specific here, and that is fetei and femei. Did you notice the difference? Yeah, we mentioned it a second ago. It's plural. This is one of the biggest confusion and biggest problems when people learn B1 Romanian. They forget about the plural of the feminine noun. But don't worry, this is something we're going to cover extensively in the next lesson. If you like this, maybe consider supporting this channel, because there's still a lot to cover. The genitive dative articles were just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg. Next come the nouns, in this crazy series about cases. Până atunci, la revedere!